Welcome, everybody, to the very first official episode of The Good in the Hood. My name is Justin. I'm going to be your host. If you've watched the interview that we posted previously, you kind of know a little bit of the direction of the show that we're going. We're not a political show, we're just an opinion show. We just like to come out here and talk about what's going on. Sitting across the table from me is my brother, my friend, my co-host, Alandus.
What's up, everybody? It's good to have y'all here. Again, this is the first episode, the very first episode of The Good in the Hood. And that's what we want to bring you some of the highlights of the good that's in the communities. This I'm excited about the show. I hope that you guys enjoy what you see and hear. And like my brother said, it's strictly our opinion. Okay.
Right on. All right, man. Well, look, first of all, I want everybody to know that the intro music that you heard coming in is an original by my brother over there. He wrote that, recorded it, not on that specific keyboard, but on a keyboard much like it. Um, so we do a lot of different things.
Hmm.
So let's, here's how I want to start.
Okay.
Um, let's share just a little bit about some of the things that we do.
Oh wow.
So we'll try to keep it brief because when I say we do a lot, I mean we do a lot. As in, we are involved in music, we're involved in construction, we're involved in just kind of somewhat life coaching.
Yeah. Definitely.
Even if it's just our friends coming to us and being like, "Hey, man, what's your advice on this?" Like,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not. So we're professionals in construction, and I would consider us professionals in music. Now, there's different definitions of what a professional is, but here's what I think. I think that we have the capability of making money off either one of those.
And that's the
So,
definition.
so,
Anything
so
you get paid for,
right,
yeah,
right.
anything you get
Um,
paid for, you're considered a professional at. So,
so uh, for us, we've known each other for almost 20 years now.
yeah. Yeah.
And we are, when I say he's my brother, I mean that in the most literal sense. Like,
Yeah.
we've grown together.
Yeah.
He's literally watched me grow from a teenager into my 30s, and it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah. I couldn't be more proud of his accolades, his accomplishments. Um, yeah, it's been a heck of a journey. It's been times where I've had to call him for advice. So, for you guys out there listening, hey, don't age is just a number. You know what I'm saying? Some of you guys can possibly relate to what I'm about to say. That gentleman sitting across from me has what we call in my community a old soul. And with that being said, for those that know what that is, I'm going to explain it to those that may not know. That means that they are wise beyond their years. So I got a brother like that, I got an uncle like that, and they're the go-to guys when I got a problem, when I got an issue that I can't resolve. I go and I talk to them about it, and most often than not, uh, they're spot on. Um, they're spot on with whatever advice that they give me. Now, at the end of the day, of course, it's up to me to either accept it or reject it. Okay, but a lot of times, at the end when it's all over with, they'll say, "I told you so," and I'm like, "Dang, you told me so." So, you gotta have that kind of rapport with somebody in your life. Keep somebody on your team like that, folks. On your team.
You
Keep it.
gotta, okay, so what I think Tay and I have in common is in every circumstance, doesn't matter what it is, keep it
Mm.
100%, as the kids say. We keep it 100 or a
Yeah, keep it
thousand or
100.
whatever. Like, no, but honesty, I believe, is the only way to get through a lot of the things that we're going through, right? Like,
Hmm.
I could have 10 people on my team that will lie to me and tell me I'm doing a good job, and I won't know the difference.
Right. Because you trust their judgment
Because
or
yeah,
their
because
what
they're
they
on my
say.
team, right?
Yeah. Right.
But I don't, and we call those, or those kind of people are called yes men or yes people.
Yeah.
I don't surround myself with yes men, um, because I want to know when I'm messing up.
Yeah.
I want to know, like you said, it's up to me to make the change or whatever.
Yeah.
But I want to know that it is, something that needs to be changed, because if nobody tells me,
Hmm.
in most cases, I'm not going to know on my own. Because if I got a bunch of people around me that are just saying, "Yeah, man, you're doing a great job. It's
Hmm.
awesome,"
Hmm. Hmm.
I love this or I love that. I mean, what is, um, what I love about you, Al, is that when I come to you, whether it's life or music or whatever, if there's something you don't like, you don't tiptoe around it. You just, nah, that don't fit, or that's not right, or you need to change this, or this needs to be different, or whatever.
Hmm.
And um, as far as professionally, um, get out of music for a second, but even in construction, as far as professionally,
Hmm.
you help me to build myself up to a higher level,
Hmm.
because we're constantly learning from each other, and
Yeah. Yeah. Constantly.
I think it's awesome. I mean, so we've known each other for 20 years. Um, we grew up in a lot of similar ways,
Hmm.
but there are some ways that are just completely different.
Hmm.
And that's what makes this a good collaboration, is
Right.
that, I see things from one perspective, you see things from another perspective, and
Hmm.
we can come together and make things happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Outside of that,
Absolutely.
outside of outside of Al, the only real person that I turn to on a consistent basis is my wife, um, because she's my wife, and she's a very intelligent person, who also will tell me, maybe sometimes in ways that I don't want to hear, that I'm messing up and I need to get things together. So
Yeah, Sissy has that type of rapport at all times. I
so
mean, I've got a couple other people like uh Edward Worthy. He's a very spiritual guy. Um like yourself, he's grounded spiritually, and I sit and I talk to him, um and that's in Lorain County. So, like it was a matter of uh different areas, like you said, different different areas. You grew up maybe differently because of the area that you grew up in, the city or the state that you grew up in. You may have a different view on a certain idea or subject. So it's good to have that. Sean Stover, he's another one. So like I have like the four horsemen right now. You know what I mean? I got you, Tay, Sean, and I got Ed. So it's like if it's something really, really bad, all four of you guys will know about it, but you won't know that you all four know about it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and
Yeah.
and we don't like. It's funny because a lot of times what people try to do is they surround themselves with people that are all connected.
Hmm.
Now, outside of you, I have no connection to any of those people.
Right.
So like,
Right.
I'm not calling I'm not calling
Right.
Tay, I'm not calling anybody and be like, hey man,
What you think
what do
about
you
a
think about
situation?
what's Al's
Yeah.
going? No,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
and what's cool about that for you is that you get to take all of those differing opinions and kind of formulate your own
Right.
scenario or your own answer to your question, I guess.
Right. Right.
And that's what I love about, um, diversity.
Right.
Just being diverse,
Right.
um, is, as a country, as a city, as your inner circle, whatever.
Hmm.
I think that it is, because if you are with a bunch of people that are like-minded,
Hmm.
you're never going to grow.
True.
You're
True.
never going to, because the only thing you're going to be focused on is, what your group or whatever, what your views are, you know.
Hmm.
And I think that unintentionally, this is a good transition into what our topic of the day is. But
Yeah. Yeah. It
um,
is.
when we talk about right now, okay, so it is Monday, November 2nd.
Yes.
Tomorrow is election day.
Yes.
So before I go any farther, if you haven't gone out to the polls, and voted, make sure you do so today or tomorrow. Um, I think I read that for whatever reason, the Board of Elections here in Summit County is closed. It closed at 2 o'clock, rather. So tomorrow, go to your area to vote. Um, you can look that up on. I think you can Google it even.
Mm,
Just uh, where you're supposed to vote, where the poll is or whatever that you're supposed to go to
mm.
on election day. Of course, everything up to election day is held at the Board of Elections because they're not sending people out for weeks ahead of time. For us, we are at Bookville High School here in our little region. So make sure you get out and you vote. It's important. And
Very important, guys.
um,
Do that.
we did um, we did have quite a few we've had quite a few conversations about this. And we had a chance to bring in a third party on this,
Hmm.
and I thought it was really, really awesome to talk to Vince about what he sees as what's important to vote. Again, it's all opinionated. Like, we're not here to tell you, well, you need to vote for this person because of this, or I'm gonna throughout the course of this conversation we might drop some names, but those are just personally who we've dealt with on a local level. I don't know about you, Al, but I
Hmm.
personally haven't dealt with the president or vice president or in any capacity.
No.
So, but back to let's combine voting and diversity, right?
Okay.
One of the big topics is the social injustice reform. What are our elected officials going to do to help to reform what is going on as far as social inequality, social injustices? To put it frankly, why is it after 400 years are we still dealing with racism on such a national level?
Oh yeah.
And what I would like to do is just give you a couple minutes to share your thoughts on what you would like to see as a minority or as a black person,
Hmm.
what you would like to see change in the realm of social injustice, I guess.
Man, that's deep. Good question, bruh. I really would like to see a lot less violence amongst the members of the minority community. I believe that, one can't really take a, a group of people seriously in regards to how they're being treated when their behavior doesn't warrant such acts at times. Um, any group of people at any given time can be violent, okay? But in my community, we have such a senseless acts of violence that is plaguing the community that you know eh, I question, um, how can anybody take uh, that type of movement seriously? And when I say movement, you know, Black Lives Matter movement, All Lives Matter movements, um, I can't I can't condone senseless acts of violence at all. Um, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. Like, folks, we got to stop killing each other, man. At the end of the day, that's what I'd like to see. Um, because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the police are just um, doing what we're good at doing amongst each other. It's easy to pull a gun out or to knuckle up in the middle of the street for something silly like $10, $20. Um, if you're on your grind and you're on your hustle, that's a small price to pay to exclude that individual from your life. I don't have a problem with losing $20 to somebody that at the end of the day means me no good. If $20 is what it'll cost me to get you out of my life, to show me how you really are, then you gonna keep that $20. If you think that's the last $20 I'll make, as long as I live and breathe and God has given me, good health, I'm gonna make more money. Now, yeah, it might be an inconvenience, but I'm gonna make more money. So don't give anybody something that you're not willing to lose. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. As well as your life. Don't give your life to somebody that you ain't willing to lose it over. My brother's willing to die for his family. He's willing to die for his wife and his kids. He's given his life to them for that reason, because of love. Now, do we love each other enough to say that? Can we say that as a group of, as a community as a whole? And it's not a black, white, Latino thing, Asian thing. No, 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 no. I have friends that are black, white, Latino, Asian, and Native Americans, and they're good people. And when we talk about like the N word, the only time I use that, for you guys that know me, the only time I use that is by definition. If I call you that, I mean it. It's not, you know, just a cool phrase, coin phrase that I'm gonna say just because there's something, funny or whatever the case may be. I'm not about to say, "What's up, my nigga?" I'm not about to do that. That's not. No, people died for that. You know, um, people are dying today because of it. You think it's cool, it's cute. And then some people have said to me, "Oh man, it's just our era. You're just old and blah blah blah." Well, I'm just old, then I guess, cause I ain't about to do it. You not about to call me that and expect me to be cool with it. No, no, I'm not about to do it. My grandmother, um, um, my aunts and uncles, um, their family members, you know, tried to set a bar for us. And here we go, and we turn that bar and flip it upside down and throw it out the window like it doesn't even matter. So I like to see things start with our own community first. I'd like to see that, you know. But on the flip side of the coin, our 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 law enforcement agents that are put in place to protect us should not be shooting us in the back uh, at all, regardless of what screwed up type of mentality we may have amongst each other. Um, we don't warrant that type of behavior from our police departments at all. And I think that change has to start within the departments, with the heads of those departments. And I believe that the mayors, the safety directors, and again, vote, because when you vote locally, you're voting locally for these individuals. They're put in place to make those changes. Now, if you keep those people that are already there, and they have not made any changes, and it doesn't look as though they will be making any changes, then maybe you should be making changes when you put that pen and paper in your hand and you initiate a vote for someone. So I'd like to see the heads of law enforcement be held accountable. And I'd also, and this is lastly, like to see, if you are in a shooting and you're a police officer, you should be charged criminally just like anybody else. And you should not be at home on leave with pay. You mean to tell me that I don't know of a job that I can go to that I can punch somebody in their mouth on my job, go home under suspension, and get paid for it?
That's true. That's true. You don't see you don't see that anywhere else, and it baffles me. Like, and just to be clear, for myself, I support the police
Oh
as
yeah, I do
much as I
too.
can.
I got friends that are cops. Yeah.
As do I, and I think it's important to draw that line. Like, we're not anti-cop,
No, we're not.
but there are things that, if you're human, you have eyes and you're capable of seeing,
Yeah.
that you see happen, that just are puzzling. Like, why does a badge give you the right to pull a gun and shoot somebody, and as long as it's deemed justified, you go right back to work?
Yeah, I can't understand that for the life of me.
Like, now, I don't want to get into justified and unjustified and all that, but there is a difference.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, there is a difference, and there are things that I believe need to be maybe changed or amended in accordance to those. Just like self-defense laws or anything else that goes on. But it's two-part. One, they have a tough job,
Yeah, they do.
and
They do.
they have to deal with people that have no regard for human life, which will put them in some tough situations. That much, I think most people can agree on. But when you are blatantly murdering somebody on camera, and it takes so long for things to for anything to come from that. Now, I guess what I mean is this: if I go out in onto the Matty block here,
Mm-hmm.
and I were to murder somebody on camera,
Mm-hmm.
10
Oh,
second, 30-second, 10-minute
yeah.
video, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to take 2 weeks for me to get charged or go to jail or whatever. I mean,
Right.
due process is due process, but
Right.
we all should be afforded the same due process,
Yeah.
I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And the answer isn't, well, let's extend the time for people, civilians that go out and murder other civilians. No,
Not cool.
it's
Yeah.
the answer to me is everybody should be treated with the same fairness of the law.
Right.
Let's not make it a, well, you have a badge or you don't have a badge or whatever. Like,
Right.
and I feel like that's what we get into. But if we're gonna let's tie this into voting, right? So let's start with talking about the local level,
Okay.
right?
All right.
So when you vote for your local officials rather, there are things that you want to look for. Okay?
Yes.
And of course, these are our opinions on what you should look for, but they're also things that will impact the community on a great level, right?
Yeah.
So, my first example is when you're looking to elect a public official, whether it's a councilman, a mayor, a sheriff,
Mm-hmm.
I want somebody that's involved in the community, right?
All right.
Somebody that will quite literally put boots on the ground and come out and be involved in things that are going on in the community. I don't want somebody that is going to give me numbers and sit behind a desk and, um, I want somebody that's going to make sure that the community is thriving,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
The only way you do that, the only way you have a thriving community is if you elect the right individuals to do so.
Right.
The best example I can think of that here locally is Councilman Russ Neal is somebody that I have personally had interactions with.
Right.
Somebody that I have personally called to rectify some situations, and I wasn't put through to secretary. I wasn't given a list of phone numbers to call. He quite literally told me, "I'm gonna make some phone calls and I'll get back to you." And he did. He took the time out and he made the phone calls. Maybe an hour later, less than an hour later, he called me back with the information that I needed, and ways to go about completing what I needed to complete.
Okay.
Now he's a councilman, and I'm just one person, and I'm not, a big public figure, or, I don't have any kind of power or influence other than my vote on what he's doing. But he cares enough about his community that he took the time out to do this for me and for my family.
Better
Now,
say that. Yeah.
there is
Kudos to him.
absolutely, and I don't think that I'm the only one. Like, I can't be the
Mm-hmm.
only family that's had to call him.
Right.
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 So,
Right. Right.
with that said, he takes time out to actually get in the community. He's also been heavily involved in just about anything that we do at Providence Baptist Church, um, on a public level. Right. We do every year, with the exception, I'm not sure what's going on this year because of COVID, but
Mm-hmm.
every year we do a scholarship banquet for our youth, try to raise some money for them to go to college. And every year that I can remember, he's been there, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And it's been a handshake and how are you doing?
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's not just a politician that's there for photo ops. I mean,
Right.
he's there because he
Right.
cares.
Right.
We built a
Right.
playground out here 2 years ago, I believe, beside the church,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
was out here helping us build the playground. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
it wasn't.
remember.
It was
Yeah.
this time of year, and this time of year in Ohio, it's always
cold.
kind of cold, and it's not great weather to be out working. But
That's right.
um, regardless of that, he showed up, and he put the work in. There were police officers, other public officials that showed up,
Mm-hmm.
and the most of them were council people, and they are the council people here in Akron, at least the ones that I've dealt with, are they go above and beyond what you would call the call of duty, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go beyond what you would expect, I guess,
Okay.
out of an elected official.
Okay.
And you've made this point before, and I'll let you make it again.
Okay.
Or I'll let you expound on it, I guess. We elect them to work for us. So they're public officials, meaning that they serve the public.
Exactly.
So they're not serving an office necessarily. They're serving the public. And I'll let you expand on that.
Okay. For you guys that don't know, the reason that my brother and I had this discussion prior was because I was so amazed at the fact that there was a young man who was incarcerated and he had no idea. He said, well, what's going on in the county jail should be changed and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, that's because there's a sheriff there that, the community had elected. Well, this young man did not know that a sheriff is on a ballot and is elected. And I was like, how did you not know that? I mean, you do vote, right? So he was like, yeah, I vote, but I just never paid attention to it. I said, come on. Like, the judges, your safety director, the mayor, your council people, man or woman, they are elected into that office. Judges. The only way to remove a judge is to have another judge run for that same spot against that judge. They're not appointed, they're elected. So there's some people that didn't know that. And I found it hard to believe that our educational system did not really teach that. Like, government didn't teach that. Social studies didn't teach that. History didn't teach that. Like, you didn't learn it somewhere along the way, or maybe you just didn't go to school that day. But in my opinion, that is what is very important. Education is important. It's something that you really need. The more you know, the more you grow. Okay.
Right.
Like you had talked about some elected officials out here in Akron. I'm from Cleveland, so I had an opportunity through some organizations, especially one though that I'll go ahead and mention, and that's Neighborhood Solutions. Mansfield Frazier, we built the world's first biocellar on 66th and Huff, and there's a vineyard there for you guys that don't know. So if you want some Fontanet and Traminette grapes, and you want it fermented to crispiness, I think you'll love a bottle of that wine there.
Okay,
But
I don't want to stop you, but what is a biocellar for our viewers, listeners that don't know?
okay, so a biocellar is sort of like a greenhouse
Okay.
that is functional all year round. Okay, it's partially underground. It's not solely above ground like a greenhouse would be. It's partially underground. So now, since it's partially underground, you have the heat of the earth keeping everything there warm on the bottom. And then on the top, you have the sun's rays heating it from the top. So now you have heat coming from the top, you have a heat source coming from the bottom, and you don't have to, you're digging below that freezing point of that freezing ground. You're starting to dig to the point to where the earth is actually warming everything up. Just like the reason that animals hibernate, they want to be in something warm. They go underground and they dig a tunnel. And we built the first one there.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful project there. But the reason that I mention that is because I got to meet and sit down and hold a conversation with Mayor Mike White, at the time, Mayor Frank Jackson, um, Councilman Johnson, um, and two other councilmen, and a couple judges. All right, now I look, I don't have a squeaky clean record. I've done some dirt in my past, and I've learned from it. And it was a lot of those elected officials. It was a lot of police officers, law enforcement that said, "Hey, man," and spiritual leaders, religious leaders, that said to me, "Hey, you know, you can live a different life. You can have a different path." You know, and I listened. I listened. I listened, and it literally changed my life. You know, because that thug life, that gangster life, I was on it. I was on it. I was on it, and I'm grateful to God that I don't have to live my life that way today. So for me I had never thought, bro, that I would be able to sit down and hold a conversation with a public official or anybody wearing a badge and a gun at any given moment.
Right.
It opened doors for me that I never ever imagined. I mean, it got to the point to where I was able, even with a record, work as security at the stadium, for some time, for a year, until they found out about it. And even when they found out about it, they said, "Hey, you know what? You did such a great job. We didn't get this paperwork. Maybe I shouldn't be telling this, but that just goes to show my gratitude and my appreciation for them being able to entrust in me to that extent. I mean, that for me, that spoke volume. So I know that Frank Jackson also, he hired a felon, he hired an ex-con, and he got a lot of backlash for this. And this is why voting is important, because we voted that guy in as a mayor, mayor of Cleveland, and he's giving felons opportunities to become meter maids. All
Right.
right. Now they got a police uniform on, but they don't have a badge and a gun. They're just handing out tickets.
Right.
Okay. But still, the man did his time. It was over 10, 15 years old. Why couldn't he apply for a job like that? Why not give a man an opportunity like that so that he doesn't have to go back to a life of crime? But the only way that's going to happen, folks, is unless you elect somebody that's willing to do that for us. You know?
Right. And I think that's a big thing. There's three tiers of government that we're voting for.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
local, state,
Yeah.
and federal.
Yep.
Um, here's what's important to know. What we hear about the most is the federal or national elections, right?
Yep. That's right.
Presidency, Congress, Senate, things like that.
That's right.
Well, the presidency, I guess. Congress and Senate
You don't hear about that
are,
much.
well, but those are on the state level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So each state votes in their senators, votes in their congressmen. And even I think within the states, you vote. I want to say certain districts vote for certain seats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody in Ohio votes for your congressman or your senator, but depending on who or where you live, I think it's different people appear on the ballot. Like they have different. I'm not super well versed in it, but from what I understand, they have different sections.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like a different section votes for their senator, but it's not the same senator as like the section that we're voting for.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And then you have, your local officials, your county sheriff, your council people, your mayors, those are all local, right?
Right.
So what's important to know is the one that you hear the least about, which is your local elections, I would surmise, is the one that impacts you the most.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
your local officials will impact you and your family the most because they're local.
More than the president could ever.
And it's important to make that distinction when you're voting, because yes, the president of the United States is important, because that does affect us as a country, as a whole.
Yeah.
What affects you more individually is going to be what your local and state representatives bring to you. Even more than the state, the local representatives bring to you. So what are they going to do for you? Well, we spoke about the council people here in Akron and how they work within the community. Okay. That's what we want locally. We want somebody that's going to work within the community to make our community a better place.
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, this is where we live.
Yeah.
So does it matter what the governor of California is doing? Not to us. Not really. Because we're not there. Right? What the governor of Ohio, if you don't like how the governor of Ohio has handled this entire pandemic thing, then you have to vote him out. If you do like it, then you vote him in. That's just how it goes.
Yep. Just that simple.
It is, we've been hit with, listen, if nothing else, this whole COVID thing has brought out true colors in candidates. Yes. So how are you gonna handle something that has never been seen before? Okay. And then how are you going to handle the things that happen on a day-to-day basis? Like there are things that happen every day.
Yeah.
That we want change in, right?
Yes.
And if we want that change to happen, we have to look into our candidates and pose that question to them, whether it's just doing research or if you have the opportunity to sit down in a town hall meeting or whatever and ask them. But knowing how do their views line up with yours? That's what's important. It's not about voting for a name. It's not about voting for a party. It's not about voting for, somebody just because you met them a couple times in a coffee shop. But how do their views really reflect what you want to see happen, right?
All right.
So the same thing goes with the issues, right? When we look at issues on the ballot, and before I go any farther, I'm going to kind of step on the interview a little bit. We have an interview queued up that we shot, and it's the interview that we released last Friday with Vincent Peterson II. Really, really intuitive interview on what he thinks is what you should look for, and why you should vote for somebody.
That was a fantastic interview. I loved it.
What is
The man is he know what he doing.
and for those of you who may not know, Vince works for Congressman Tim Ryan,
Yeah.
and he's educated in these things. So much more so than myself or Al, he knows more specifically what the ins and outs of this stuff is. So we wanted to talk to him and kind of get the point of view of that. And we'll show that clip here in just a few. But when we're looking at when we're looking at issues, right? Most people look at them and go, "Oh man, our taxes are going to go up. I don't want my taxes to go up."
Right.
Let's be real about something. Our taxes may increase, but if it's something that's worthwhile, is it really going to break you to pay an extra $7 a month or an extra $70 a year in taxes for the betterment of the community? I mean, if you ask me, no, it's not. It's not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or I don't even remember the question that I asked now, but it's not a. If it's $70 at the end of the year in taxes, that's extra that I have to pay. I'm not gonna remember by the time it comes to pay those taxes that that $70 even made a difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
over the course of 12 months, it shouldn't be
if we're talking
that drastic, I guess.
You know, and we're talking in percentages. And why do they do things in percentages? Well, because you can make that happen for somebody who's of low income, middle class, or somebody who makes, $1 million a year.
Right.
If you're making $1 million a year, you're going to get taxed more? Sure. Is it unfair? No, because if you look at the percentages, you're getting taxed a percentage that is similar to what we're getting taxed,
right,
or what a low income is getting taxed.
Right.
So for what might be $70 for us, it might be $7,000 for them.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's the same concept. Like, are you really going to miss? If you're making $1 million a year, you're really going to miss that $7,000 at the end of the year? No, because you're paying it out anyways, right? And the truth of the matter is, it gets taken out of your paychecks or your salary or whatever, and you don't even see the money.
Yeah.
So you literally fight and argue over money that you don't even see.
Yeah.
Now there are some things where, it's just not worth it. If
that's true.
If there's a company or an establishment that is able to sustain without government money, without money from the people, then by all means they should be able to do that. They should do that, rather.
Oh yeah, cities, they really waste money. I mean, if I may, bro, may I just
please?
In Cleveland, bro, there is a chandelier on Euclid Avenue.
Like, hold on, like a chandelier, like
a chandelier, bro. Like I was there, and I was there. I was married still at the time, and I was there with my wife for the unveiling of this gigantic chandelier on Euclid Avenue in the Playhouse District. Still there.
Now that you say that, I've seen it.
It is ridiculous spending, in my opinion. It's cute. I can't say it's pretty. It's cute, and the reason that I use the word cute is because it's not something that I found to be a staple in the community that was needed. It's a cute thing to have, but it wasn't necessary.
It's not useful.
No, it was. There was really no function for it. Another thing that was senseless spending in Cleveland that I found was the Juvenile Justice Center on Quincy Avenue. They have mahogany wood. They have gold tapestry. Oh, yes. You go in there, and people have called it the Taj Mahal because of how immaculate the building looks. Okay? Now, that houses children as well, unruly children. They don't get that kind of... these are just the offices and the courtrooms for the judges. I,
Right.
now, again, guys, this is my personal opinion, so I don't want to be harassed by anybody. This is solely my opinion. Okay, I didn't think that that was spending tax dollars properly. You know, um, I didn't. I didn't think that that building needed such elaborate items inside of it. And as a builder, I looked around and I'm like, not only did you have to purchase the materials, you had to pay somebody to do it.
Right.
It was a stupid amount of money.
Yeah.
I don't have the statistics, but if you guys look it up, you will see about how much that costs. Bro, it's ridiculous, man, I tell you.
And I'm a huge proponent on kind of what you're saying, which is dumbing down the cost of building these buildings to put that money into, instead of incarcerating young people, let's put that money into rehabilitation.
Exactly.
Now,
Young people and
that's
adults.
that's a hot button topic, because a lot of people are like, well, why should I pay? Well, here's why you should pay, because more so, and again, my opinion, but more so when it comes to juveniles than adults, the rehabilitation process is paramount to our future.
Yeah.
Now, you might say, well, they're a lost cause. They're this, they're that. No child, no juvenile is a lost cause.
No.
They all have an opportunity to turn it around. I had an opportunity to turn around. And despite my best efforts, I failed at that. But that doesn't mean that everybody follows the same path.
Right.
You know, I also didn't have what you would consider proper rehabilitation for anything. You know, it's lock them up, let them sit for a few months, weeks, days, whatever. You get out and then you move on. To do what?
Yeah.
To do this. So you're telling me,
life for crime, so you pay now or you pay later.
You're telling me that when you lock up, just an example, when you lock up a 12-year-old with 15, 16, 17-year-olds who have been in and out of these facilities,
Yeah.
that have made all kinds of poor decisions and broken all kinds of laws and have discovered ways to effectively, in a sense, break the law and get away with it maybe 70% of the time, which is enough for them. What are you going to pick up there? You're not learning how to become a productive member of society there. Just as much as you're not when you're 18 and locked up in a county jail. What you're learning is how to perfect a life of crime, essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's not a rehabilitation. You can call it a rehabilitation center
But
all
it's
you want.
not.
That's not a rehabilitation center. Rehabilitation is getting the help that you need to get set on your feet, to knock out the root issues.
Yeah.
You know, why did you knock off a liquor store? Well, it's not because you wanted
The liquor?
well, no, it's not. Maybe you did, but it's not because you wanted the thrill of it. It's because you needed money,
Yeah, you needed money.
right?
Yeah.
Whether it's you need the money to feed your alcohol habit, or in some cases, to help mama pay bills.
The rent, yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you need the
Yeah.
money. So what can we implement? Now, again, these are things that I look for when I'm looking to vote somebody in. Okay, what are their views on what can we implement on making things, making rehabilitation centers or places like that, jails or whatever? How do we get them? How do we finance helping make a difference in paying bills and knocking down poverty levels and making sure that, now I'm not a socialist, so I do believe that you need to work for what you get. And I don't think that if you work harder than somebody else that you should have that taken away from you
Right.
to
No.
give to somebody who's not working as hard,
Right.
which is, I guess, my opinion of what a socialist view is. But I do believe that there are plenty of opportunities for us to get out and make a difference with the money that's coming into the county, city, state, whatever.
Right.
And I do believe that a lot of times those funds are misappropriated, not in a legal sense, but just in the sense that We're not using them for what we can be using them for. We're not rehabilitating anybody. We're locking them up, and then we're sending them out into the world with a pat on the back and a good luck. And you know, how many times have you been? Okay, I've been locked up. I'm gonna say conservatively 6 times. Okay.
Okay.
Every time I get out of jail, there is a common theme. It's never, hey man, I hope you, you know, do better or whatever. It's, I can't tell you how many times I've been told,
You'll be
you'll
back.
be back.
Yep.
You'll be back.
Yep. It's like
And I'm
a
like,
curse.
first of all, why, if you
Why
have
would
that
you
kind
wish
of
that? Yeah.
temperament, why are you even in that position? Now I get it because they're jails, right? So guards are just that, they're guards. They're not there to help. They're not there to do, they're there to keep peace in some way, shape, or form, and they're there to monitor inmates.
Yeah.
Okay. Instead of having so many guards to monitor inmates, why don't we put some of that money into going to rehabilitating, legitimately rehabilitating?
Yeah.
If you have a drug problem, finding a way to help with that.
Yes.
If you have an alcohol problem, finding a way to help with that.
Yes.
If you have a financial problem, finding a way to help with that.
Yes.
Is it going to work 100%? No.
No.
It
Nothing
won't.
will.
Because at the end of the day, we still have free will. You still have the choice to go out. Listen, it's infinitely easier to go out and rob somebody than it is for $1,000, just as a base number, than it is to go out and earn $1,000 in
Yeah.
a few days' time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just a fact. It's a fact, and people sometimes just don't want to put that kind of work in, or don't know how.
Oh man.
Like,
wow. Yeah.
we don't
You touched on some.
teach our youth to, you know, function in society when we're just putting them in jail. You know, all we're doing is showing them this is what happens. You know,
Yeah.
it's like when you're a kid and you get into the pantry and you get a snack without asking mom or dad. All right, they find out, you get in trouble, you go into timeout, get your butt spanked, whatever it is. You know,
Yeah.
and what did you learn from that? Well, you learn that if I do this without asking, I get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
If you stop there, you don't teach them anything.
No, you don't.
So instead of stopping there, as a father, anyways, this is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I let them know, listen, you can't do this. This is wrong, but this is what you do instead.
Yeah.
Right? And in that example, it's just as simple as ask mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hungry, ask for a snack.
Right.
Or, you know, we might tell you no and cook you lunch. You might get something better out of it. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
it's a possibility.
But we're not teaching our inmates at any level this. Not on a big enough. There are institutions. I should be clear about this. There are institutions that are trying to implement these kind of things.
Yeah, there are.
But it's not on a large enough scale that it's making a difference yet.
It's big business, man.
Yeah.
It's big business. You touched on some things that I'm trying to think of all of the things that I wanted to just like put my toe on, literally, like bro, like, for example, child support. I don't have to worry about child support, but child support, why would you put a man or a woman in a position where they lose their driver's license? Okay. Their wages have already been garnished. They don't have a way to maintain or sustain a lifestyle that is normal like everybody else's. Okay. And you take their driver's license. Now, how are they going to get back and forth to work?
Right.
That's one.
Especially if you live in a county or state or city
That
or whatever,
doesn't have a
doesn't have
bus
public.
system.
Yeah, don't have public.
No
transportation.
public transportation. That's one. That's one thing. Okay. Another thing, the public transportation.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see the public transportation in both cities, okay, and surrounding cities function at times of the day when people need to be employed. There are some companies out there that work 12-hour shifts, 3 to 4 days a week, and one of those days being Sunday. You can't get to work on Sunday if there's no bus running.
That's true.
You can't drive there because your license has been suspended because you owe child support or whatever.
Right.
You didn't have the money in the first place.
Or then you do, and you run the risk every Sunday.
Every Sunday taking that chance, and now
Right.
here you get a ticket and more stuff. These are people that need to be held accountable. When you hold them accountable, that's election time. You put somebody new in their place to uphold the policy that we need in the community to make the community a functioning entity. Okay? Now, you touched on jails, prisons being inadequate to literally help these. There are counselors that are in the county jails that you very seldom see.
Right.
You may see them once while you're there, but they're not there. There should be psychiatrists there to help, because most people, if you have an addiction, if you have a problem with drugs, you know, it's more to, it could be underlying. You know, it could be something tragic that you've been through in your past, okay, that you have not gotten over. So you self-medicate. I know people that self-medicate. I don't bar none. You know, I welcome everybody that accepts me for who I am. I'll accept you for who you are. I don't care if you're a cop. I don't care if you're a drug addict. I don't care if you're a drug dealer. Now, I'm not going to tell the cop the drug dealer's business, and I'm not going to tell the drug dealer the cop's business. Right. It's none of their business. They're
Right.
individual people.
Unless
and
you
when
decide...
we hold a conversation,
right,
you know, it's that uniform's not on. Those drugs and that gun's not in your pocket right now. We holding a conversation about just life.
right.
You know what I'm saying? But those are like the three things that I wanted to, like, you know, get out there for people to realize that change can come, you know, but you got to do it. You know, they say the pen is mightier than the sword. I didn't understand that when I was younger. Now I get it. Now I get it. Because let me tell you something. A judge earned a right because you elected him, and he did his work, or she did her work in school, to get to be placed on the bench that you elected them to be on. In Cleveland, they have these 4 judges. I'm not going to name no names, but they're considered to be the 4 horsemen. Now, the 4 horsemen, you go in front of the 4 horsemen, it's a matter of, okay, you better have a very, very, very good attorney.
Right. And I want to go back just for a second.
Okay.
You talk about in correction facilities how there's a counselor that you hardly ever see.
Yeah.
Most places have, depending on their size, 1 or 2, maybe up to 4 people that come in and out that are counselors.
Okay.
Right? Now, I'll use Wayne County as an example.
No, Wayne County.
Wayne County has, I believe, 2 counselors that are not religious. Okay. And you see those counselors, and I don't mean drug counselors. I mean like psychiatric counselors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Social counselors.
Yeah. So you see them very rarely, but you see them very rarely because if you have 250 inmates, there's not enough time in a week to get to every single one of them, right?
Not.
And if you're locked up, let's face the facts, you're there because more likely than not anyways, because you have some sort of issues at home, you have something in your brain that is wired differently, whatever it is, something that you need to work out.
Yeah.
Right? And in my opinion, let's take some of that money.
Come on.
And put it towards putting a counselor at every pod.
Yeah. Preach. Say that.
You might have 60 people in a pod. Cool.
Yeah.
But if you do it right and you've got a counselor for every pod, you can accomplish, because not everybody's going to want to see a counselor.
No.
But if you do, you should have the opportunity to do so. And it shouldn't be, well, you got to wait a week.
Right.
Because what happens in that week, right? Like, if I'm laying down for 6 months and I have to wait an entire week to see a counselor, especially if I just got sentenced, and that messes up your life.
Yeah.
As an 18-year-old, I did 6 months for driving under suspension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I told this story. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I told this story to a group of friends over the weekend.
Okay.
It was relevant to the topic of conversation.
Okay.
But I told them about being in jail for 6 months for driving under suspension. Now, driving under suspension, you shouldn't do it, obviously. I also think that 6 months is probably way too steep for something like that, considering now there have been some changes in law since then where
Thank God.
It's not always 6 months, but there are some cases where it still can be 6 months.
Yeah,
I guess.
that's ridiculous.
And unless you're a listen, this was my first time. Okay, it was a first time offense, and I got 6 months.
Yeah.
So I told this story. I told this story to somebody who, did a total of 4 months, I believe, or 2 months for getting a hamster, his girlfriend's hamster in the garage, and the hamster died. Okay, froze to death. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was a thing. Whether he forgot it or it was intentional, I don't really know. I don't know the person that well. But I told this story to the person that did. I think it was a total of 4 months. A total of 4 months for that, which is ridiculous in and of itself. Okay. And they thought that I got screwed. So that told me a lot, first of all.
Yeah.
So, but what did I learn? Well, what did I learn there? So what I learned in jail is, first of all, that's 6 months. And I think I was 19. I'm 19 years old.
Yeah.
And that's 6 months.
If you had an apartment, you would have lost that.
I lost everything.
Yeah, you would have lost all your furniture.
I lost everything.
Your gas and electric bill would have been a default.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have been able to move to another place unless you would have paid that up in full because it's a delinquent bill now.
Right.
Like a lot of people get into situations like that, bro, and they get out and they have no way of making a way for themselves anymore.
Right. I'll tell you what I learned while I was in jail. I learned how to effectively live a life of crime.
Yeah.
I guess we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I didn't learn I didn't learn how to become a better person.
No.
I didn't learn about what I did learn about how to avoid the situation that I'm in is simply, this is what you do to not get caught.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not avoid it altogether, just don't get caught doing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have never got caught had I not done this. That's
Right.
why I'm here, and that you hear it all the time. Yeah.
And what's unfortunate is I believe there's a lot of people that fall into that same scenario. Now, at the end of the day, I still had the right to make the right choices. In a lot of cases, I didn't. And I'm not blaming the system for how my life turned out. But it's just a matter of thinking about these things from two perspectives. You have to think about it from an outside perspective, and if you've never been to jail and you don't have any compassion for anybody that's been to jail, you're never going to accomplish this. But you have to think about it from the perspective of somebody that's locked up. Because if you don't know what they go through.
Yeah.
I don't know what people in Cuyahoga County go through. I've never been in Cuyahoga County jail.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
I can,
traffic.
But I know that I've seen a lot of people from different counties while I was locked up and had conversations and hear extensively horror stories about what happens. And, those are the kind of things that I truly believe that we need to amend on, and we need to elect the right people to get those things going. So, talking about elections, we're talking about voting and why it's important to vote. I think that We had a chance to. I think this is a good time to play the interview. We had a chance to interview, as I mentioned, Vince Peterson II. He's a good friend of mine that I absolutely love talking to. We talk about a lot of things, everything from sports to music to. We don't really talk about politics a whole lot, but if I ever want to talk politics, he's the guy that I go to.
Yes, sir.
Right, because he is, he's knowledgeable, he's smart, he works, within the field, and he's, I think, 30 years old, 30 or
Wow,
31
that's an
now. So
accomplishment, man.
he's done a lot. He is a graduate of Villanova. Yeah, he graduated from Villanova. He won a national championship there as an athlete. Although I'll say this, so he was a defensive back, and I could say this because he's not here to defend himself right now. But
remember who he works for. Be careful.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But as good as he was, he probably couldn't have covered me.
Oh,
He probably couldn't have covered me in high school, or if I would have went to college. Listen, I was a big guy.
Yeah, I know.
I'm still a big guy, but
yeah,
I played wide receiver in high school. My junior and senior year, I played wide receiver in high school at 6'1", almost 6'1", 200 pounds, and all I did was work out. So, like, I'm the same size now that I was in high school, and I could run a lot faster. My knees weren't bad, my back wasn't bad, But no, in all seriousness, he was a fantastic football player. I watched some video clips on him. So we played around the same time. He was a couple years behind me, I guess. And I went back, once I met him, I went back and watched some clips of him playing.
Now tell me this, for those that don't know, where is Villanova at? Where is that? Where's that?
I want to say.
Because I don't know. I'm asking because I don't know. I'll be honest. I have no idea where, but I've heard of Villanova.
I'm gonna look it up here because I don't want to give the wrong information. But I want to say it's in like Illinois or Indiana.
Okay. All right.
Give me just a second. Villanova. There it is. Oh, that's college. University is where I want.
All right.
Is that Pennsylvania? Is that right? I don't. Okay, so yeah, it is
in PA maybe.
I think in Pennsylvania. I should have asked him that.
The Villanova students are like, yeah, we're getting shout outs.
Yeah. It's
That's what's up, though.
it's in Villanova, Pennsylvania. So
Villanova, Pennsylvania. Well,
that
okay.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Me being a Browns fan, I don't know much about PA.
Yeah, or the state up north. Well, that's an Ohio State thing. That has nothing to do with being a Browns fan.
Ohio State, baby.
But he won a national championship at Villanova. He actually started his career as a prison guard for the Northeast Ohio Alternative Prison. He's a parole officer for the state of Ohio. He was a motivational interviewing instructor, which it didn't make it into the final cut, but we asked him about that. Because if you know Vince, he's a comical guy. He actually does stand up comedy also.
I never knew that.
Yeah, no. Every New Year he does at the church, and it's pretty cool to watch him.
Really?
Go through that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check this
but
out.
The motivational interviewing instructor, from what I gathered, is it teaches. He was teaching people how to interview in a positive way, right?
Okay.
How to interview a suspect without making them feel like they're a suspect, I guess, essentially.
Okay.
So, that's what I gathered from that, which is a pretty cool thing to do. And he's currently a constituent liaison for Tim Ryan, as we mentioned before,
right?
Which is our I think it's a Congress. He's not in our district. I did find this out. Okay. He's not the congressman for our district. But think about this. And this is the last thing. This is the last name I'm going to throw out, I guess.
Okay.
And it's not an endorsement. It's just a fact. Okay. Think about this for a second.
Keep it real. Keep it 100. That's what we're going to do.
Tim Ryan is not the congressman for our district. Okay. And if I'm pretty sure he doesn't show up on our ballot. Maybe he does.
Oh,
I might be confused on
yeah,
this.
we'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, I might be confused on this, but um, regardless of that, Tim Ryan, when we built this playground, and when we do some of these other events, he's another one that shows up to all of them, um, and he has absolutely no ties to the community. He just shows up to show the community, other than being a congressman, right? He doesn't have direct ties.
Right.
Like a lot of
Okay.
the council people around here have direct ties to Akron or have
They do.
direct ties to their community.
That's man.
So he came up.
It's a class act.
He came up for the building of the playground, which is very much a community thing, for the and for some of the scholarship banquets that we do. And uh, I know that if he can't make it, he does send Vince. Well, send is kind of Vince is usually there because he's part of the church, but Vince is there as a representative for him. So,
Okay.
as part of being a constituent liaison, as we learned in the interview, he's also a representative for Tim Ryan, meaning that he will go to events that Tim Ryan can't go to.
Mm. Okay.
So, if he's
Okay.
double booked or whatever,
Yeah.
he'll go in place of Tim Ryan to stand in as a representative for the
Okay.
congressman. So, pretty cool stuff. It's what were some of the thoughts on the interview that you had? I guess before we play the clip.
Um, I thought it went well. I mean, I really don't have any words, like, because a lot of the stuff, a lot of the topics that he had touched on, I mean, it was only a need for me to ask the two questions, and I had a whole bunch of things that I was in my head, you
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
That I wanted to talk about, that I wanted to, touch base on. But miraculously, this guy came through and blew me away with some of the answers that he came up with uh, when I hadn't even asked any of the questions. He came up with the answers before I had an opportunity to ask. So, um, with that being said, I was amazed at how thorough
Mm.
he was in the interview. He really didn't leave much to chance
Right.
in that regard. So,
Yeah,
um,
I think there was a couple times even in the interview that you had said that you had a question that was already answered.
yeah,
And he
yeah,
did. Actually,
yeah,
the first question that I asked him, he had already answered before we even got to it. But I thought it was pertinent to actually be clear on what it was
yeah.
that he does and how he got there. So,
Hmm.
without further ado, Mr. Vince Peterson II on the importance of voting and why you should vote and what you should look for when you're voting.
All right.
I love that um, you're such a young person relatively, and you're so involved in all these things. Like you've done quite a bit in what seems to be a short amount of time after college. So kudos to you for that. So I think I probably already have gathered the answer for this, but how did you get to your current position? Like what made you go that route?
I decided to really start researching politics and policy. So I started taking poli sci classes, and I just started developing a love for it. So after that, I graduated, ended up in the criminal justice field, and you do get to help a lot of people, but at the same time, it is very repetitive.
Right.
It's very limited on the help you can actually do. So I started getting more involved with like community boards and community aspects, and trying to be more involved in like how do I really help people. And I ended up having a meeting with Congressman Tim Ryan. I attended with my father, and I'm just picking his brain, man. I'm just asking him question after question, and okay, why don't we do this, or why haven't we tried this as a community, or have we tried this and it didn't work? And I didn't think anything of it. He gave me some advice. We left. See you later. 2 weeks later, my dad calls me and says, "Hey, Tim Ryan's looking for your number." I'm like, "For what?" And he goes, "I think he wants to offer you a job." And I'm like, "Get out of here." And
Wow.
it turns around. He offered me a job, and I was fortunate. If I wanted to go back to my old position as a parole officer, I had a year and I could go back, same pay, nothing changed. But I fell in love with the job almost instantly, man. Everything from being able to help people on the constituent side. I'm also a field rep, so I go to a lot of meetings in place of the congressman.
Okay.
So I got to attend a lot of meetings, community boards, and really like putting my mind to use on what we can do actually to help the community as a whole. How do we understand that poverty breeds criminal behavior. People, if you don't have, you're always going to try to find a way to get. And how do we address that? How do we address the education system? How do we address gentrifying of areas? How do we address how redlining affected certain communities? So it's honestly, getting that opportunity, I would say, just really was a blessing, and has allowed me to really grow in a lot of aspects as far as benefiting, everyday people and everyday communities, and the best part is when you work in the district like I do, you really like, yeah, people politicize everything. But at the end of the day, like I've never answered a call and been like, "Hey man, you a Republican? Because I can't help you out if you are." Like it's very like it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, black, white, alien. For all if you need help, my instructions from the congressman is to help anybody and everybody possible. So it's been a blessing, man. I got to tell you, it really has been.
That's really awesome, man. That's really cool. Just to let you know, he's not on camera, and I think you can hear him.
Yeah, I can hear
Alandus
him. I
is
can hear him.
here. I haven't quite figured out the nuances of putting two people on a Zoom call from one computer. Don't think it's even possible. So, but I got him on sound. So he's been listening to our conversation. I think he's got a question for you.
Yeah.
So, do you think in the near future you might consider maybe putting your toe maybe in the political arena as a, I don't know, maybe a councilman yourself, or maybe?
That's a great question. I definitely think that there is well, I'll just be honest with you. I mean, this is my boy's interview, so I'll be 100% honest with you.
All right.
Yeah, I definitely have considered doing that, and really right now it's just praying and kind of seeing when that time will align. I think part of the hardest part, and for anybody who was an athlete, whether it's a broke down DB like myself or a broke down receiver like Justin, I think any athlete, we have this this thing where we feel we can always just push ourselves and will ourselves to get to where we want to get to, right? And I think sometimes it's important to remember all the work that you had to do to get there. And I think right now I'm still in the putting in work phase.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens. But I definitely I have considered it. I've thought about it, and I'm currently praying about it. I'm not gonna lie, this type of political environment we're in now, I do think we need more people who are less motivated to be super big. Like regardless, I work for a Democrat, but I don't want to be the guy that's just Democrat. I want to be the guy that, listen, our community is made up of different people. Not everybody thinks the same. Not everybody's going to feel the same. How do I help each and every individual live the best possible life that they can and be provided for? So I think we need more of that, and we need more young people. I mean, we can all be honest here. Sometimes we look at these politicians and it's like, I mean, I get it, man. I appreciate your service, but I mean, you was a politician when my grandparents were kids. I mean,
Right.
Jesus and the disciples, I think, voted for you, bro. Like, we gotta have some turnover. So I think it's important, but I just think it's more important to find out what God says and to wait, until you're ready. And so hopefully when I know and my wife knows.
So what is it? 35? Is that how old you have to be to run for president? Let's be honest. You're just waiting for that
It's
time,
something
right?
like that. I actually try not to. I don't know why I do this. I try not to focus on president. I have this joke that I'm running for president in 2044. So
24.
2044. Hey, man, it might be a thing.
Hey,
You know, I
listen,
feel like it's possible right now. So,
yeah, no,
um,
I know for me, I wouldn't want that job. So more
no,
power
you
to
know
you.
what? I want like my goal is to hire the best imaginable cabinet. And every time something goes wrong, be like, hey, man, blame it on your boy. Okay, I'm just out here trying to help the people. You know what I mean?
I think we have a president that does that already. So,
So
um,
yeah, we got something like that.
so I really appreciate having you on, man, and I wanted to have you on to talk about the importance of voting from a nonpartisan,
Yeah.
uh, way of going. We were talking about voting from local, local to state to federal,
Yeah.
and how it's important. What are what are some of the things that you look for uh, when you're looking to uh, cast your ballot? I guess what are
Well,
some of the things that you look for in a candidate?
I think the importance of voting, and you kind of even started on the path I'm going to go down, is knowing, okay, what level am I voting at, and how does that level affect my life?
Mm.
I know when I personally think your local elections, which get the lowest turnout of
Hmm.
any style of elections, are the most important to your everyday life.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I am constantly looking at when I see candidates, um, I'm looking at, okay, we got local judges running. Where does this judge come from? What did he study? Has he done anything? Was he a prosecutor before? What type of prosecutor was he? Does he believe in rehabilitation? Does he believe in drug courts? Does he believe in the things that will help actually make people better and not just lock them up, lock them up, lock them up? We lived through that in the 90s and it has done us no good.
Mm.
So, I want to study things like that. If you're a county commissioner, what are your plans for the roads? What are your plans for how do we rebuild communities, dilapidated houses? What are your plans for? I live in Warren, Ohio. We have a southwest side that's a food desert. What are your plans to help get a grocery store on the southwest side? What are your plans to help with transportation? Mayor, what are you doing for transportation? Are you making sure buses are running properly to get people from A to B? Do they have a chance to go to the doctors, go to stores? So on a local level, I'm looking at that. What is our, people don't even read what their levies are for. Half the
Mm.
time, your levies don't even increase your taxes. If you read them, we
Mm.
just vote no because we instantly go, man, I ain't paying $7 more a month. But um, we don't even read our levies, and some of those levies, I'm like, dude, you sending your kid to a school like my old high school, because of they're in the community. There are some extremely rich people, which don't allow you to get certain things from the state to rebuild high schools. A lot of these high schools that got rebuilt was because of where they are as far as the poverty line goes. So my old high school doesn't have that benefit. They're in school without AC.
Mm.
Like, as an athlete, I just think about on game day, man, I ain't trying to sweat all day.
Right.
And then, what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to hydrate, make sure, and I just think we don't even want to read what the levy would benefit. Does it say, hey, we're going to close down this school, but with closing down this school, we're going to take all the money allocated there and we're going to rebuild this school? Like,
Mm.
those are the things we got to look for at that local level. At the state level, okay, I need to know where my state money is going.
Mhm.
What communities are we benefiting? Because what happens at the state level a lot, the same places get money. There's so many grants and so many times that the state level is giving out money and it goes to like Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus, and Toledo.
Mm.
And places like that. And it comes from the fact that we don't really pay attention and hold people accountable for, like, all right, Trumbull County, Summit County, we need, Stark County. We need money here too. We know we're not as big. We're not the big attractive thing, but how do I make sure that money gets funded towards these places? How do I make sure that Trumbull County gets enough money so that it can start redoing roads? Or, like, people get mad that Akron has so many roads under construction right now, but the smart thing to do is to try to get as much of that done as possible, because we're in an ever growing community. We're in an ever growing economy. And we understand that even things like how nice your roads are matter to keep people, right? And people want to live in communities they feel are nice. Do you think everybody, it's cool to go out to LA or Atlanta, and it's all gravy and like it's like, oh man, all this money and all this cool stuff going on. But dude, they are constantly redoing stuff all the time because they constantly want to remain on top. And their traffic is god awful, right? But they constantly want to make sure everything is up to date. So I want my state to have a big state mentality. In Ohio, sometimes we teeter on that line. So I'm going to challenge my state reps and state senators and my governor to make sure that we're doing those things. And if we have a rainy day fund and it starts pouring outside like 2020 has been doing, I think we should use our rainy day fund. So, and at the federal level, man, it really comes down to that's, I think, a little bit harder to understand as far as politics go, because I look more into like, all right, what are you going to do when we talk about foreign policies? How are we going to tax other countries? What are we going to do about keeping manufacturers in-house, which Northeast Ohio has lost God knows how many manufacturers to foreign countries. We lost GM in Lordstown, which has been a huge economic hit in Trumbull County. And even Summit County. I mean, I think everybody in Northeast Ohio kind of felt vibrations from that. But, what are we going to do? How are we going to tax people? Imports, exports, what are your foreign policies? And in what direction do you really want to lead the country? Because at the end of the day, you are more a figurehead as president than you are the almighty. We look at president like he's the end all, the be all. Well, honestly, you're going to get more done through Congress and Senate than you are with your president. Okay, so, I want to make sure my congressmen are on the same page that I'm on. I want to make sure my senators are on that page. And I just want to look around and say, okay, if I wanted federal funding for something, what would that be? And some people may say, I want more federal funding for education. Right now, I'm in a big thing of I'm looking for infrastructure. I want infrastructure. How do we rebuild not just roads, but buildings, communities? Why are there places in 2020 that don't have internet? Why is broadband, not being laid down? And again, I can go into how that translates into, if we do a big broadband package that translates into jobs for the next, 6 to 7 years. And, we get into that, but it's really just understanding and taking the time. And this is what people don't want to do. Take the time to see who's running. Look at who's running in the primary. We always want to think about the main election. Who's running in the primary? You may have a guy in the primary who doesn't have a big fundraising base, but he relates to you. He's just a hardworking guy, wants to make a change. And you never researched him, so you don't vote for him. You vote for the name you've seen 10 times. You don't know who that guy even is. Right. You just say, oh, man, I've seen O'Brien 15 times. So I'm just, hey, man, O'Brien's got my vote,
And I think that it's funny that you say that, too, because, you hear a lot of times, well, what if I don't like either candidate? Well, you had a chance a long time ago to get somebody else in there. Now you're stuck with, the two worst people. Go ahead, Al.
You answered. I had a question for you, but you answered it. You spot on. You answered the question, man, and I couldn't have waited for a better response. So with that being said, I had to come up with another question, and I think it's quite important for maybe some of our viewers or listeners. What advice would you give young people that may be studying law or some type of political studies? What kind of advice would you give them to motivate them to continue on the path that they're on to try and make this country a better place?
The first thing I would say is, as a young adult, don't base your life off social media. Social media is such a powerful tool, and could be, it can benefit kids. I was just talking with a former NFL player. He's actually my cousin, Boom Heron from Ohio State. And we were talking about just how social media can really help kids, can really benefit kids, or can really, really hurt them, right? If you base your life off of likes and comments and all that.
Hmm.
As many of us as adults have done, let alone kids. But you're never going to get enough. There's never going to be enough. And going into the political arena or just any arena where you are a public servant, you cannot do it for likes. You cannot do it for thank yous or that a boys or pats on the back. You have to do it because that's what you're driven to do, right? And that's what you believe in doing is best. So my first thing would be is you can have social media, but like what I've really tried to do now is focus more on the family and positivity. I've done the Facebook arguments. I've done the I got to respond to this person. It doesn't serve a purpose. Facebook is meant to be a silo for you to just hear your own thoughts over and over again. And when someone opposes those thoughts, it's like, oh my, I can't believe this person thinks differently. Well, I mean, the person grew up differently than you. They have a different life experience than you. People should be allowed to think differently. So my first part would be, hey, be careful with social media. Don't base your life around it, and don't base your aspirations and dreams around it. And the other thing I would say, stop being so concerned with winning and losing. We as a society, and I am competitive at everything. I'm sure if me and Justin played Uno right now, we would be talking trash. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? Draw twos. I am competitive at everything I do. You know, if me and my dad are walking down the street, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get to the house before you do. You know, we're just like that. But as a society,
be the 56-year-old man to the house. That's not saying.
Listen, he could be 100. He'd be in a wheelchair. Hey, bro.
Even if you're pushing him, you're turning him around so you get to the door.
Bro,
first, right?
Listen, I'm gonna stop him right there. And my dad's the type of dude, he'll do everything he can to wheel himself up there.
Right.
But the thing is, man, as a society, we've become so divided off of who won, who lost, that if we didn't win, we now don't even want to be a part of anything else. We're like, okay, we lost the game of basketball. I'm gonna take my ball and go home. I don't even want to deal with you guys. I don't wish you the best. I'm like, slow down now.
Right.
As a society, if our current administration, like, love them, hate them, we gotta wish, and hope that he does the best he possibly can, because that affects our country, right? We got to get back to a place where it's not, hey, you won or you lost. It's okay, my candidate didn't win, or maybe I ran and I didn't win, but what is the best case scenario from where we're at now? How do we get the best results? And if you're going to be in public service, there's a bunch of wins and losses constantly. People are going to love you one day and they're going to hate you the next. They're going to love decisions you made on Wednesday, and Thursday, they're going to say you are the worst person on the face of the planet. What you have to realize is, you didn't win something, you didn't lose something. You're just doing your job. And as long as you are doing what you believe is right, as long as you're doing what you can stand on your own 2 feet and you ain't got to have people praise you for, then stick with it, and focus on that, man. But just avoid getting into all the hey, we didn't get what we wanted, so all right, I quit, or I don't want to do this, or the world has now come crashing down. Because I say this to people and I always get the same reaction. I go, we're so focused on winning and losing, and and this election and da. I get it. I have my candidate I want to win, but at the end of the day, the current administration's been in for about 4 years now. Did you stop getting up to go to work? Did you stop being able to put food on the table? Did your kids not talk? Like, what in your life really, really changed? Or were you able to still live life every day?
Yeah.
Maybe there were some things you disagreed with, but you were able to still live. Nobody lost. Like, we didn't lose life. We still have the opportunity to go outside every day and make whatever it is we want to happen. Right. We have that chance. Now, sometimes, there are better things, and sometimes there are things where you're like, but that's life, man. No matter who's in office, whether it's Obama, whoever it is, unless Jesus comes down and runs, I don't think we'll ever have a perfect administration where everybody's going to be happy. And I'm sure if Jesus ran, there'd still be people unhappy. So.
Oh yeah, no, there would definitely be. But look, man, I appreciate you coming on,
Yeah, absolutely.
Some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thoughts and advice, man. Love
Appreciate
picking
you
your
guys.
brain about this stuff. Um, uh, wish you and your wife and your little girl all the best, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
No
Um,
man.
question.
you
Yeah.
know, I see you get an opportunity to kind of. I know you're super super busy right now, so thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah,
Um,
thank you for coming
Oh,
on,
bro,
man.
you
We
you
really
know,
appreciate it.
anytime, man, anytime. Next time when the Cowboys are good, let me on when we talk sports, and let me come back for that one.
you know
So it'd
what?
be like next
We'll,
year.
we'll save that for Sunday, where we can repent before we walk out of the church. So, all right,
That's
man. I
funny.
appreciate it. Love you, brother. You have a
Love you
wonderful
too,
rest
man.
of the day.
Appreciate you guys.
Oh,
All
for
right,
Yep,
man.
y'all
sure,
take
man.
care.
Love you,
All
man.
right.
Be easy. Thank you for what you do, man.
Love y'all too, man. Y'all keep it up. Y'all be blessed.
All right. Thanks, bro.
All right, man.
All right, man. So that was our interview with Vince Peterson II.
That's
So
what's up. Yeah.
super insightful stuff. As we said before, he's involved in this stuff, which makes it, that much more important to hear from him, I guess. I like to hear from somebody who's, because, the the rest of us, I guess, that aren't involved in politics in any kind of way, like we vote and our vote counts and we're happy to vote, and but to get a better understanding of what we're voting for, I guess, is what makes it so important to talk to somebody like Vince that's in that realm. So was there the I felt like you asked some great questions also, and I especially liked how you brought home, what do you say to the youth,
Yeah.
essentially, that are wanting to pursue this field, if you will.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. It's a question I hadn't thought of, but it was really cool to get some perspective on that.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the youth is important.
They're our future, right?
Yeah, they're definitely our future. I've heard you say that countless amount of times in the past, and I'm sure I'll hear you say it more in the future. It keeps me thinking about it, even if I don't mention it. So
I think, and the reason I say it is because, in my opinion, that's never going to cease to be true. Our children are always going to be our future.
yeah.
No
Yeah,
matter how old we get, there will inevitably be more kids and more youth is more future. So
Yeah. Yeah.
one day the youth that we're talking about now will refer to the youth of the future as their future. So
Yeah.
it's kind of maybe a little bit inception-y, but it's still pretty cool. So as I mentioned before, it's the Monday before Election Day, right? We're November 2nd. Just took a quick look at the polls. One poll shows we still have 5 what they call toss-up states.
Well, okay.
And Ohio is one of those toss-up states. So now I will say this. It appears that Joe Biden has quite the lead when it comes to the Electoral College. But nothing is done until it's done, right? Nothing's final until we get the final count in.
Yeah.
So here in Ohio, you still have a chance to make a difference. So
Yes, you do.
I did some research, Al, this morning on the Electoral College.
Okay.
Because I remember briefly hearing about it in school.
All right.
I just don't know that I knew enough about it, I guess. Even going into previous elections.
Okay.
Voting in the last, how many? 4? I think I voted in the last 4 elections now.
Wow.
3 or 4, but not really understand. I mean, you go, listen, I know who I'm going to vote for,
Mm-hmm.
so I go and I vote, and
Right.
that's about as far as it went. And I feel like a lot of our listeners
Right.
and a lot of America in general, just kind of, that's how you vote, right?
Uh-huh.
You go out, you vote, and then they hear about the Electoral College, and then you hear things like, well, your vote doesn't really count because of the Electoral College. Well, here, I'm going to try my best to explain how this goes. And there's plenty of other videos, YouTube videos that you can go and check out that will explain this more in depth and come from an area of expertise on
Okay.
this
Okay.
because it's not my area of expertise. But this is from the research that I've gathered. Um, this is how it works.
All right.
So the Electoral College, each state gets a certain number of electoral votes, right?
Right.
Electoral votes are determined on the population of your state. For
Okay.
example, California, after the not the 2020 census, but the 2010 census, I believe, is what these bases are or numbers are based off of. So the electoral college votes, they have 55 electoral college votes, which is by far the largest of any state, right?
Yeah.
Coming in at a distant second is Texas with 38. Okay, so it's based on population. So
Okay.
what that tells you is California is more densely populated than Texas is. Okay.
Okay.
In contrast to that, Alaska, which is territorially the largest state in the United States, only gets 3 electoral college votes. Why? Because people don't live there, right? A lot of people don't live there. One that I was surprised by, though, is Hawaii. Hawaii only has 4 electoral college votes. When I started doing my research on this, I started to gain an understanding that it's based on population, like the population size of the state.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised that I guess maybe not so many people live in Hawaii, but we go there a lot, or well, not we, but people go there a lot.
Yeah.
So I just found it a little yeah, I was surprised by it. I was surprised that it was just that small, right?
You know what? I didn't know that. So I'm happy to have learned something today in regards to that. Um I had no idea that you know the electoral votes and the college vote. I didn't know nothing about that. Not as far as in depth as you just explained it. I had an idea or what I thought was an idea about it, but come to find out, I was relatively wrong on them both. So, but now I know.
Well, let me. I'm gonna take it a step farther.
Okay.
So that's how they determine how many votes you get in the electoral college. Now, in 48 of the 50 states, if you win that state, you get all of the electoral college votes. Okay. So, for example, if you win we'll stick with California. If a candidate wins the state of California by popular vote, they get all of the electoral college votes. So, I say that to say that your vote does still matter. The perfect example, prime example of that is right now in Ohio, we are still a toss-up state. Okay? Which means that we could still go either way. We have 18 electoral college votes in Ohio. Okay?
Okay.
That means that if the margin is close, then the state of Ohio could determine an election. I think in previous years, Ohio has been I think every year, actually, Ohio is a big player because Ohio's not really been a state that leans one way or the other as far
Right.
as Republican, Democrat.
Right.
The same goes for Florida. Florida is one that we always hear in the news.
Mm.
Florida is huge. Florida has, looking at my notes here, they have 29 electoral college votes.
Wow.
So they are, I think they're the third largest state as far as electoral college votes
Huh.
in the country. And they're a toss-up state,
I never knew that.
which is, it's relevant because California is almost always Democrat.
Yeah.
Texas is almost always Republican.
Republican. Yeah.
So the third largest state, being Florida, is almost always a toss-up state. So some things that, whether you like it or you don't like it, the electoral college thing, some things that you should know. One, it was implemented when the Declaration of Independence was signed. Okay, when the country was formed, the government was formed for the country,
Right.
the electoral college was put into place because it was hard to get from state to state. You know, there was no internet, no phones, no social media or
Okay.
whatever. You had a guy on horseback, the Pony Express, that was
Yeah.
delivering mail, right? So in order to effectively get votes, they appoint people. These people are appointed, not elected. So the people that vote in the electoral college
Mhm.
are appointed by the state. Okay. Now there's certain guidelines that you have to go through. I don't know them. I strongly encourage you to even just go on Google or YouTube or whatever,
Yeah.
and
I'm really like, wow.
kind of do some independent research on this. But just from what I've gathered, what happens is you win the state. And the two states, I said 48 out of the 50, the two states that split the votes are Maine and Nebraska.
Who
So,
would have thought that? Maine and Nebraska.
and relatively, I mean,
Wait. Why do they split the votes? Because it's what? What? I mean,
I don't have a good answer to that.
Wow.
What I do know is that
Huh.
they're the only two states that, like, they go by percentage, right? So if you win 51% to 49% in a state like what did I say? Maine has 4. And okay, so we'll go with Nebraska because they have 5. So if you win 41 to 55, you get 3 out of the 5 electoral college votes out of that state, right?
okay.
So that's how they split it up. It's kind of, if you ask me, that should be closer to how the elections run,
Yeah.
because it's closer to voting. When you cast your vote, you're casting your vote for the popular vote, not the electoral college.
Okay.
So the popular vote ties into the electoral college, but that's not what you're voting for.
Okay.
So does your vote count? Yes, absolutely. Why does my vote count? Well, because here in Ohio, we're still a toss-up state. So, and in Ohio, whoever wins the state gets all 18 of those electoral college votes. So, if you live in the state of Ohio and you haven't voted yet, vote. Vote for who you want to be in presidency. Okay? Will it make a difference? Yes, it will make a difference, because if you want Trump to win, vote for Trump. If Trump wins the state, he gets all 18 votes, electoral college votes out of Ohio. If you want Biden to win, same thing. Vote for Biden. If he wins the state, he gets all 18 electoral college votes.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are 538 total, okay? That number, 538, is the number of senators, which is 2 per state. So that's 100 senators, right?
Okay.
The number of representatives, the number in the House of Representatives, which is 435, okay?
Mhm.
And then it's 3 electoral college votes, which is the minimum for the District of Columbia, because DC technically isn't in a state, right? So in order for those votes to count, also, if you're voting in DC, they get 3 electoral college votes from that. You add all that up, comes to 538. 538 divided by 2 is 269. So what you need to win is 270 votes, 270 electoral college votes. Okay.
Okay.
Now, here's where I believe the system is flawed. If you, by chance, win what I'm going to call the top 12, okay?
Okay.
These are the 12 states with the most electoral college votes. If you win all 12 states and lose in the remaining 38, you still can win the election by 11 electoral college votes.
That is quite interesting because I thought the voting just resolved it all, but now that you've done the research and gone so in depth with your findings, that I mean, other people, I guess people, I can't say, I'm only gonna speak for myself, okay? I did not know that, like I said before, so it one might say, well, that's insignificant, but no, it's not. That's a big deal. That really is a big deal because you're thinking that you're winning, but you could still lose.
Yeah. Well, and the perfect example of that is, well, there's two examples that I guess people my age would know.
Okay.
Okay. The first was Al Gore and George Bush.
Okay.
George W. Bush. Al Gore won the popular vote. Okay.
Okay.
But lost the electoral college votes. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but that's how it went.
That's amazing.
In 2016, Donald J. Trump lost the popular vote, but won the electoral college vote.
Yeah, and that's when people were saying that it was rigged and this, that, and the other.
Well, there's a whole tampering thing that may or may not have been involved. I don't know,
may or may not have happened,
but so it is possible to win the popular vote and to lose the electoral college vote. I think that there needs to be some sort of change in that. Essentially what it is so the electoral college, the big states, the Big 12 or the top 12 states, right? Remember I mentioned if you win those, then you win the election. I'd be interested to know if in that case if it's even possible to lose the popular vote then. I haven't run the numbers, so I don't know. But that's 38 states in this scenario. And this scenario it's pretty far-fetched. Like I just happened to look at it and added up the top 12. And in the top 12 you have 281 electoral college votes, which is 11 more than you need to win the election.
So if you win those top 12,
right. Now,
nobody else matters.
Probably never going to happen that way.
Probably not. No,
but if it did, it would.
Yeah,
that would be.
Yeah, that would be.
It's not. I'm not going to say that it's. It doesn't fit democracy. Some people will say that, but I'll just say that I think that there needs to be some, like, I think the electoral college should be the secondary, and the popular vote should be the primary vote in. Yeah. Like if the vote is 51-49 or it's so close that it's hard to tell, then you should go to the electoral college.
And then but I agree with that.
The way we have it now, the popular vote is just a setup essentially for the electoral college, from what I understand, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why it's that way. Now, I wasn't there when it was written. I don't work in government. I have absolutely no basis for this opinion other than what I've researched. Okay. It just seems to me like it's backwards. Again, if you ask me, there's a lot of things in this country that are backwards. So we got about 5 minutes left in the show.
Wow. Time flies when you're having fun, man.
It was an amazing interview once again with Vince. Vince, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you taking time, especially right now with the election coming up. Man. Yeah. It was crazy that he had time to even get on with us, and we thought that we might have lost the interview at one point in time, but we didn't. So
Yeah,
we are
definitely.
good.
Kudos and thank you.
We are good for that.
Yeah.
Al, man, once again, thank you so much for just your insight, bro. Like,
Oh man.
the reason why we started this show is because we both feel like we have something to offer from kind of a low level point.
Yeah.
In a way, like,
Got to start somewhere.
we're
right?
not, we're not in the money. We're not trying to influence anybody to do anything.
No.
It's just, and we've talked about this. It's really more therapeutic for us than it is anything else, just to get on and talk.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's really awesome to get to talk to you on a daily basis.
Right.
But now just put it out there for people to have conversations about, man. All we're trying to do is start conversations.
Yeah.
So any of these topics that come up, man, I know that again, it's Monday. Tomorrow's election day.
Election day.
This is we got the interview out early because we wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance to see it. And this will probably be seen by most people after the election, but it's still relevant. It's still something that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Because, in just a couple years, there's going to be local elections, and then you're going to have
more, so
in 4 years from now, we're going to be going through this whole thing all over again. And chances are we're probably not going to like the president that's in, no matter who it is, and we're going to want him out, and we're going to want somebody else in, or maybe we don't. Maybe we love him. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's important stuff. So just a couple minutes, man. Just tell the people and anything you want to say. Do you have anything that you want to convey to everybody?
Yeah. I guess a 30-second moment I could take to say this. I know a lot of my friends are Democrats, and I know some people that I'm friends with also that are Republican, and they come from various walks of life. Some of them are minorities, and I asked some of the minorities that were Republican, why were they Republican? And they stated to me that they were Republican because Democrats didn't free slaves. So I looked it up, and Democrats didn't free slaves. Republicans did. So it's just a matter of who's going to do the job for the country, give grants to the states that need it, pass bills that need to be passed, so that as a country we can move on. So again, we're not here to influence your decision, but we are here to influence you to go out and make a choice. All right.
All right, man. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. The only thing I want to say is if you haven't voted yet, go out and vote. Your vote counts. That's how you get your voice out there right now. We do have some exciting things coming up in the future that deal with what you can do between election times. I've stated it before. We're not a political show. It just happens to be that time of year right now.
Right.
In fact, next week, or our next guest, another good friend, Alan Lights Watson, will be on the show. He is an entertainer. He's actually a preacher also.
All right.
And he is from this community, lives in this community, and wants to see better in this community. So that's why we're here. We are just here to help build the community up the best we can. So go out and vote if you haven't done so already. Pay attention to the polls and the election and things that are going on tomorrow, which will be election day. I will be casting my vote tomorrow, not because I'm a traditionalist, but just because the way my schedule works out, that happens to be the best time for me to go vote. So get out there and vote. Make sure you are paying attention to the candidates that you're voting for. And after you vote and those people are put in place, make sure they're following up on what they talked about. Because if not, we're going to have another chance to elect somebody else or re-elect that person if we like them.
Yeah, they can be replaced.
make sure you are out and doing your part when it comes to that. Also, do your part to keep the streets clean. Just as my little tidbit at the end of every show, I'm just going to encourage you guys to, if you have trash, don't litter. take care of it responsibly. We don't want to be out here cleaning up streets all the time. We don't expect anybody else to be out here cleaning up streets all the time. If you want your neighborhood to be beautiful, it starts with you. So thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate everybody being here. Al, thank you again for
thank you.
Coming along on this journey with me.
Oh man,
so
you're a
many
gracious
great
host,
things.
bro.
So many great things to come, and I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout. On a personal note, be on the lookout for new single. I just debuted it yesterday.
Hey.
And I debuted it live yesterday, so it's pretty cool. I will be looking to put that on various formats. I'll have more information on that to come. Also, if you like what we have to offer, make sure you click the like button, subscribe. If you're watching it on Facebook, share it. I'm always going to share the link to Facebook and the YouTube link. So, we want to get the word out, and the way we get the word out is to go ahead and have you guys like and share and subscribe and do all those lovely, lovely things. But only do it if you enjoy the show. I don't want anybody to, watch it, not like it, and then give it to somebody else, because it's not going to do us any good anyways. So, but for sure, if you like the show, like, subscribe, check us out. You can catch us. You can get a hold of us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
Email. All of that stuff is available to you. If you check out our Facebook page, the link that's across the top there is for our actual live feeds on Facebook. But if you check out the Facebook page, all of our information is there. Same thing with Twitter and Instagram. The Twitter and Instagram is pretty bare right now because this is pretty new. So bear with us as we get some content to put up there.
Yeah.
But definitely check us out on YouTube and Facebook. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. I wish all the best for you. God bless everyone, and make sure you're doing your part to make the world a better place. Love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right. Have a good one.